Chris said, let them know if you like, oh, we're on. So maybe,
Well, yeah, there's an extra step we got to go through, but it goes live like a lot quicker now. Anyway, Aloha Friday, guys. I had to do that real quick. I know we don't probably have anybody on yet, but Aloha Friday, everybody. Oh no,
oh,
we
look,
do. We have people on already.
you see how you see? If I was to run away from the police, I just hide behind my board and look, I come invisible.
Ah, all
Yeah.
right, guys. What's up? Happy Aloha Friday to all of you. Hope you guys had a great week. Getting ready for the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of stuff going on, guys. A lot of changes. A lot of things we got to deal with. But before we start anything, I do want to wish a belated happy birthday to your wife, your
Oh,
lovely
thank you.
wife, Stephanie Iona. Happy birthday, Stephanie.
Thank you very much. It's been, first I'd like to say thank you to all of you out there that sent us uh, best wishes and congratulations on our 25-year anniversary. And, you know, some people thought I would never do it. I did it. We renewed our vows. We went to the Koloa church. We stood there and it was nice. And then, and I tried to answer everyone with a personal message. When I looked at Facebook, how many messages there were? Close to 700. It was almost impossible. I tried my best. So I just did a mass note and thanking everyone. So now I promised the wife I wouldn't put up anything, but yet the cat was out of the bag. So I said, I'm gonna join the crowd. So I put up a small happy birthday message out there. I tried to answer that. It was already over 400 something. So I said, oh boy.
All right. Oh, Sherry's birthday. Sherry Rodriguez's birthday is this
Yeah.
Saturday, this Sunday. Happy birthday, Sherry. Happy early birthday to you. Hope you have a great birthday. Yeah, Pat and I renew our vows every 5 years, and last year we made 30, and
Congratulations. Congratulations.
but COVID, man.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, but that's all right. We'll do it as soon as we can do it safely, because that's the word of the day: safety,
Yeah.
safety.
Yes.
I know we
And
got a
also,
lot to talk about. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Charlie.
no, some people are wondering, my background is because, to get into the mood, I just wanted something tropical. Not that there was a Mai Tai line around here for me to sip on, but I just wanted something tropical. And I just wanted to have a feel good screen for everybody out there. There we go.
Well, I kind of was trying to find one that fit the mood. Do it on Zoom. Yeah, Laura, maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll Facebook Live our vow removal the next time, renewal the next time.
Remove.
How about this one, Charlie? So sometimes I feel like I'm in the weeds. Sometimes I feel like I'm in the weeds and I cannot see through the weeds because of all the crappy information going out there. Every time you hear the news, you get depressed, you get upset, and everybody's trying their best. We're trying our best to keep safe and and let me get rid of this thing because I don't really like this. But hang on here.
Well, what about this? There's a new beginning, a whole new world, a new fantastic point of view.
You know, um, we always it always seems like we're starting over again. How's that song? Starting all over again because we keep doing the same things, expecting different results, which is also the definition of insanity. But you think about it, Charlie. We were here a month ago, and we were talking about safe travels, and we were talking about the numbers. Maybe a month ago, we were talking about the numbers from Kauai from
Mhm.
October 15th of last year when we entered into safe travels. Remember when Kauai entered, everybody entered into safe travels October 15th, and within a month, we were out of safe travels because the numbers went nuts. So when we were talking about re-entering, when the state put the pressure on the county, as far as having the legislature trying to
Mhm.
pass a law that would strike or strip the powers of the mayors away,
Mhm.
and Kauai decided to go ahead and go back into safe travels. We
Right.
said it right here on this show that there would be no difference. That in fact, nothing changed except for vaccines. But now we know that just because you're vaccinated doesn't mean you cannot get the virus and you cannot share the virus. But we knew that there was going to be no difference from re-entering safe travels from when we went into safe travels last year. And lo and behold, it's happening. We're seeing it again. 4 cases, 2 cases, 5 cases. We had our death. And again, condolences out to the family. I don't know who that person is. I know I get messages, a lot of messages asking me. They think I know it all. I don't know. But all I know is there's a family right now grieving the loss of a loved one from COVID on Kauai. So I know some leaders focus on hospital beds and hospitalizations and deaths. That family lost a loved one yesterday, and I don't think they give a damn about hospitalizations and all these other things because they are grieving right now. And you saw George Ma's post the other day. Um, he's struggling. He's still struggling. So anyway, we don't have to go down that road. But my point is this, Charlie. This show has been real from day one, and I know a lot of people get pissed off. They say that we try to put fear in people's that we're fear mongers and all of that stuff. The reality is we're real, and we look at trends and we look at what's happening in other places of the country and the world, and it was bound to happen that once we re-enter safe travels, our numbers would rise. Now remember, Charlie, we're the only county that is transparent. And that's
Mhm.
why I said that, and not Dr. Dworkin also said that Kauai is the real world scenario because we are transparent. So now we're at 5 today. I just got a message from a friend that they just got a letter from Waimea High School today, an email that they got a positive at Waimea High School. So it's spreading, people. It's in our schools, it's spreading. And when you watch the news, all you hear is rah, rah, rah. Rah, rah, rah. We're doing great. We cannot wait to open up to Trans-Pacific and all of this stuff. And people, when we have community spread like we do right now, it's dangerous. Whether you're vaccinated or not. I told you the story. My good friend and told me I could share it. I'm not using names. Her daughter, 23-year-old, fully vaccinated in January, fully vaccinated. Back in January, earlier this week, got sick, tested positive, still having symptoms. She's not asymptomatic, fully vaccinated. So we know all of that crap that some of our leaders try to get us to believe that you're immune, don't worry, you're safe, you're good, you can travel, gather, go do weddings, go do all of these things because you're safe is full of crap, full of crap. And people got to understand as individuals that we need to know the difference between bullshit and reality. We try to provide you reality. Only reason we do that, not to make you scared, but to wake you up and say, hey, we better wear that mask. We better wash our hands. We better social distance, and we better stay away from gatherings. So it's real, it's here, and it's growing. And I don't care what KHON2 News says every morning. We got to take it upon ourselves now more than ever to take care of our loved ones and ourselves and our families. All right. Thanks for the rant, Charles. I'm done.
Well, you gotta be careful now. Get a stroke. Just gotta take it easy. Just relax. I'm gonna take the screen here. I'm gonna do a share screen right now, and okay, everybody can see that, right? Okay, so I wanna I'm gonna bring the screen up here. Okay, let's start off. Let's start off. Let's start off. You can see that now. It's on. Yep.
I can see it. It says April 22nd, which was yesterday.
Yesterday. Okay.
Before you go, Charlie, hang on, Charlie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? They cannot see my screen, so that's okay. Go
No, no,
ahead.
no, no, no.
No,
You they can.
I wanted to tell everybody to share. I think I show up in the little corner.
Yeah, yeah. You
Now is
do.
the time, people. If you haven't already, press the share button now, right now. Thank you. All right, Charles.
Okay. And here, I'm doing the share button right here. Okay. Now, a good friend of ours who's been on numerous times brought this to my attention, and he said, "Hey, you got to look at this." And I said, "Okay." So this is you can find this on the website, the Department of Health website. Okay. And what happens is they print this out, I guess, every day. And so this is sort of like the precursor. It tells you the definitions used and so forth, right? So as I'm reading down, I get to this part right here. It says cases associated with primary setting and linked cases outside the primary setting. That's important. Okay, so just remember that when there's a case in a column that is associated with the primary setting, okay, it refers to cases linked to a COVID-19 cluster that were directly exposed to the primary site or event. So if it's a restaurant and there's a cluster, bingo, it goes into that column. But if the person was linked to the restaurant, but then that person got the family sick, it's not linked to that. Okay, it's not linked to that because it's outside of the primary site. Okay, so give everybody that understanding. So they talked about, they categorize it: personal facilities, educational settings, shelters. Very, very important. Food service, straightforward: bars, nightclubs, food suppliers, restaurants. Then we go to construction and industrial settings, including residential and non-residential construction sites, landscaping, related sales distribution centers, occupational settings. Here's the big one: travel, lodging, and tourism. Then, of course, we have social gatherings that include weddings and so forth. Okay. So let's go to Honolulu first. This was just yesterday. Here's what's alarming. They had 3 clusters on Oahu that yielded a total of 23 cases. 18 of those cases is directly involved, is linked to this 23. Outside of that 23 were 5 cases. Okay. So if these were students involved, maybe the students went home and got somebody else sick or whatever, right? So they go in this column here. But you notice it's happening. Okay. You go to a restaurant, 1 cluster yielded a total of 6 cases, which 4 went straight and directly to the total cases with 2 outside of that. Okay, straightforward. Industrial, same thing. The numbers speak for itself. But take a look at social gatherings. It's it's uh, it's manageable, I guess, if you want to call it that. But you kind of would like to see all these zeros up in the social gathering, right? It'd be much better. Then other, there's 5 clusters with 61. Now I'm just assuming it's 12. No, cannot be. I thought maybe they add down the columns and they hit, but it cannot be. It doesn't go that way. So basically, there's others outside of any of these categories that have 5 clusters, 61 total, with 55 directly involved.
Charlie, check go up. Charlie, check go up to the what else? What else? Get okay. So you get educational,
Yeah,
you get food service, you get occupational, and social and recreational.
right.
So what? could others be? Is it like a household cluster?
Could be, could be,
Okay,
could be.
okay.
Okay, let me go up here. Let's see where they put others. See, I didn't see it up here. That's why I didn't
Oh,
know
right
where
there, right
others.
there. Oh, right there, right there. Oh no, that's occupational.
Yeah, that's occupational. So now maybe, maybe it could be others. Let's take a look over here if it's in that same occupational. No, but it falls under other. So there's a other category. I don't know where it's at.
Okay,
Okay.
so that might be that. I don't know what that would be. I think it's probably just
Yeah.
okay, whatever it is.
Somebody
That's a
show
lot
up
of
in a
cases.
hospital and they sick, and or it couldn't be traced. Those kind of cases. It
Yeah.
couldn't be traced to origin. Okay. Got it there so far. Well, now let's look at good old Maui. Now, this is where it comes interesting. Educational, 5 clusters, a total of 41 cases, 31 directly involved, linked to the 41, with 10 outside. That's why I remember we are getting all these messages from the people on Maui. Hey, what about the schools? What about they got more than Oahu right now, just by looking at this report for the one day. Okay. Now, what program does Maui have, Mel? They have the program where they test post. Is it has the post arrival test gone into effect yet or not yet?
No, I don't believe it got in. I don't think they started yet. And I know
Okay.
for a fact these numbers reference the last 14 days, so we know for a fact that it doesn't include the post-arrival testing.
Yeah. But in the last 14 days of exposure, okay. So now they, I don't know if they still do their post departure test. Remember the random departure test, like a surveillance testing? Do they still
Yeah,
do that?
I believe that they only did that study. I don't think that is continuing. They may have started it again, but as when
Okay.
Dr. Pang was on the show,
Mhm.
they had already concluded that. So I'm not sure what Maui has in the way of testing.
Okay. The reason why I say that is because I want to let the viewers know we can do a rule out if that any of those numbers are in here. Because why? Because these numbers include some form of contact tracing, correct? If the people are already departing, you cannot contact trace them anyway. So their numbers wouldn't be useless for this report, correct? Yeah. Okay. This is where it
And
starts to get
Charlie, Julie just said that the post-arrival testing has not started on Maui yet.
okay, good. Okay. So now what's get interesting, look at your food suppliers and restaurants. Small, right? Small, but you get cases, you get 18. You get 8 of it associated with that, 10 outside of that. Okay. Occupational settings, everything. Now look at travel, lodging, and tourism. You have a total of 11 clusters, 154 cases. Contact tracing reveals 115 was directly involved, directly in link with those 154 cases, with 39 outside. These are travel lodging. One can only assume these are travelers coming into the island. So the person who told me to look at this said, Charlie, why didn't the news pick up on this? This is newsworthy. This is because this goes totally against what the LG was talking about, where they're saying that those coming in because of the safe app travel, they pretty much catch everything, right? Well, there's a lapse of judgment right here. It didn't catch everything. That's that's the part of it that's very scary. So now you got 154 cases where 115 of them directly involved at 154. You got 11 clusters from that. And remember they had the worship gathering, the churches? Well, they're back down to 0 because nothing was reported. Okay. And neither is other. So let me take this screen back. So brother, what do you think with that, looking at that 154? That means that a whole lot of people came through, right? and they got, and now,
Well, I'm a little confused because 5 minutes ago you said, "Be careful, brother. Don't go get a stroke."
yeah,
And then you dropped that chart on me.
that's why I was telling you, don't go get a stroke, because I had to show this, and I didn't know uh, uh, a more happier way to show it to you.
I tell you what the most disturbing, and you said it in your presentation. The most disturbing thing about this,
Yeah.
in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
is the media doesn't cover it.
Mm-hmm.
That you said it, newsworthy. Media will not cover it because it directly conflicts with the state's plan to open tourism. What that tells me is that the governor's office, the lieutenant governor's office, has a control. Somehow they have some pressure or whatever it is on the media, or the media is just not feeling that this is newsworthy.
Right.
You got to remember this, Charlie. And this is what I learned in politics in all my years: is that at the end of the day, it boils down to money.
Right.
The TV news channels, all of these stations cannot survive without advertising dollars. And if the news channels decide to go out and start impacting an industry with news and the industry, and again, this is my observations in my experience in politics, that they have these agreements or these understandings between each other of what they're going to say and what they're not going to say.
Right.
The police departments, they don't, and I don't want to get into this discussion tonight, but just as an example, police departments do not buy ads in the news channel, so they can shred all they want. But the visitor industry spends a lot of money
Mm-hmm.
on news, on commercials, on TV.
Right.
So they're all portraying this picture, and it all starts at the governor's office, lieutenant governor's office, that we're doing fine. That in fact we're going to reach herd immunity by 4th of July, according to the lieutenant governor.
Right.
So that, for me, Charlie, the most disturbing thing is how this media is controlling, and in my opinion, it's detrimental, it's dangerous, by not letting the public know that this is what's really going on and
Mm-hmm.
where these clusters are happening.
Mm-hmm.
The city bus no buy ads on TV, so you can tell the city bus had one cluster or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The church no buy ads on TV, so you can blast the church all over the place because they're not going to impact you in your advertising dollars. So remember, Blangiardi was the owner. He was the general manager of Hawaii News Now. This guy has connections. They all do. They need to be transparent, I guess is what I'm trying to say, Charlie.
Well, another interesting point is, I would hope that, if we are, you and I personally, what we're doing now is informational. We're not trying to scare anybody. I didn't print that report. That report is coming straight from the state. Okay. But yet, at the same token, that's why I kind of sounded redundant when I was going over each of the categories and said, okay, now just watch it, just be careful, because we can get lost in the interpretation of numbers, right? And I don't want anybody to do that, because I don't want anybody to get either a false sense of security or a false sense that the storm is coming. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. It bothers me when you have numbers, okay, in a particular industry that has always been worrisome from the start. Because remember now, when from the very beginning we said, hey, how do we control the visitors? But then everybody played the spin. Okay? And we were guilty of it too. I was, because we said, oh, but don't forget we get locals coming back too. Okay. Regardless if it's residents or not, those numbers are bunched in there. And what it's telling us is either they took a test, they got a negative test to give them the green light to come through, they came through the borders, right? And bingo, For some reason, because I don't know if there's any surveillance testing going on right now. I don't think there is. But for some reason, that number was revealed. And so the question is, how was it revealed? It had to be revealed through a source of medical intervention. Somebody didn't feel good. They went to an urgent care. They did one test, and bingo, lo and behold, they came out positive, right? It had to be. It couldn't be any other way because this information, first and foremost, is being downloaded onto the Department of Health website. So now we know because the next slide I'm going to show after we do a little chit chat. I'll let you do a little chit chat because you and I, we're the yin and the yang there, Mel. I'm going to let you rant and rave, and then I'm going to bring you back down again, only to get your blood pressure back up the next time.
Hey, Charlie, before that, I just wanted to, Linda Kawai Iwamoto just posted, my dear friend's daughter was diagnosed yesterday and her son diagnosed today. She's 25, he's 2. Prayers
Oh,
for them, please. She works, he goes to nursery school. She can't help. She'll get it again. Mom lives in Kapa, and the daughter, son, and husband is on the west side. So prayers, guys. We don't need to know names. Doesn't matter. As I ask you guys almost every night before you put your head down, pray for all, for everyone.
no,
So Linda, we're sending prayers out.
yes,
Again,
yes,
I mean, I think for those of us on Kauai, and like I said earlier, what's happening on Kauai is happening on Oahu, Maui, and Hawaii.
yes,
You're just not being informed.
yes.
We are thankful and blessed that we have a county team, including our mayor, Derek Kawakami, that provides us with that information on a daily basis. So,
Yes.
again, prayers going out, Linda. Thanks for sharing that.
Now, I just want to take a moment. First of all, my prayers out to the family. It's not easy, but when you see that age 2, that means the age 2 is sick with COVID. What that says is okay. But you remember before, early on, they said that this doesn't affect children. Well, tell that to the state of Michigan right now, because predominantly reported cases of illness from COVID is children and teens.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, we don't want that here, but that's, I don't know how else to put it. So when I brought up just that previous slide, remember we had post 9/11, right? Oh, our borders sealed. Our borders sealed tight. We didn't let nothing move because it was dangerous. Understandably, because terrorist act. I look at this virus as, one can say, is it an everyday occurrence? Not really, because it just happened to show up on our doorsteps in 2019, 2020. It could have had any other time, way before when it could have ignited and did what it did for the last year and a half, but it didn't. It concentrated itself in its last year and a half. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a scientist. So I don't know why it just confined itself to that. Okay. So what did it do? It prompted us to go and find a vaccine. Applaud all those companies. But then we get a little bit pilikia with the J&J, right? Today the news came out. The CDC and the FDA will give the green light, but they got to put a warning label. Okay. So my question is, are you saying that all these vaccines, when they got one EUA, never have no warning label on top to begin with? So only now they're gonna put them on. It sure seems strange, and maybe that's the pessimistic side in me. They're putting it on because of a legality. That should you become that rarity, right? Should you become that 1 in 10 million that get one blood clot and die, more than likely you cannot sue the company because they got a warning on there. So my question is, when I took my Pfizer, I don't remember the nurse giving me the shot telling me, oh, by the way, before I press this plunger, there's the caveat is there's a warning to the shot you're about to take, right? Now, what are they gonna do with the J&J? Every single person getting one dose. Please read before we give you the shot. It's like, okay, you're not at the point of no return. But once I put that needle in your arm and I start pressing slowly, you know, that's the point of no return. Please read the warning. And those are the kind of things that, again, it's informational. They should be telling everybody so people can make a right choice. It's their lives, really, right? It's their lives.
You know, there were enough of the experts that said that the next wave of COVID that was going to hit was not going to be COVID as the original COVID. It was going to be the variants. We never heard of kids getting positive, never heard of kids getting sick, and now we are. Well, there's only one explanation to that: it's the variants. All the experts warned us, and in fact, the all the experts warned all the states and counties not to loosen restrictions, even if your case counts were going down, because the variants were coming. So, Hawaii didn't listen. Hawaii
Yeah.
did not listen. Hawaii ignored the CDC's recommendations, advisories, and they went ahead because they felt that we were different. And
You
maybe
remember?
we are, Charlie. I think there's some truth to what you said about the separated by ocean. So yes, there is definitely a little more tighter control.
Hmm.
So yeah, our numbers aren't like New York and everywhere else. But when that clusters show up, when that infection shows up, then it acts no different than it does in those hot cities. It's the same virus. It's uh, the same contagiousness. Everything is the same. So getting here might take a little longer, but once it's here, it does the same things that COVID does everywhere else. And that's why the CDC and all the experts said, do not use the reduction in cases as a reason to open up your economies because you're going to regret it.
You know, here's another thing. And I apologize because what you're giving is important information. And my brother, I love you. I was not laughing at you or what you were saying. I was laughing at something that I just thought of because my comical mind, I should be serious. But sometimes when things get so serious, I got to revert to my comical mind. And that is when this first started, remember when the vaccine came out? They said that if you're allergic to the following, and they told you, tetramethaxyl, they give you all these kind of foreign names, and you're looking at the TV and you tell yourself, what the hell is that? Like, just like that if you take them, you're gonna react to it, right? You can't even say it properly. So how the hell you know what that comprises of? Remember that? They tell us that if you're allergic to the following, they give you these names. I told myself, what the hell is that? Is it what? Is it a crimsicle with a secret name they put on top there? I don't know. So, like most people, it's like you don't know if the stove hot, right? So typical local people, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna touch them and see if it burn. So with this vaccine shot, well, I don't know what the hell that thing meant, but you know what? I'm gonna take them anyway, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So we'll see. May 11th is right around the corner. We'll see what happens as we open up Inner Island. I know I want to fly too, guys. Don't get me wrong. You don't even know.
Yep.
There's nothing more I want to do than go see my kids and go relax a little bit. But I think once we open up, I'm already seeing it on Kauai now. The numbers just because of safe travel, not even quarantine or vaccine passport. This is just safe travels.
Yep.
Imagine we're not even gonna have a pre-travel test. We're not even gonna have that. I worry. I am genuinely worried of what will happen. But again, Charlie, what can we say? Like I said many times, the train is moving. We're not gonna stop them, and they've made up their mind, and they're gonna move it, and it's gonna go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, brother, May I take the screen again?
Sure, please.
Okay, so like I said, I don't want you to catch a stroke, but I'm gonna take you there, and hopefully I can bring you back down so you can take a few nice breaths. Okay, so today's paper, this is what you posted. So we're gonna talk about that. Boys and girls, today's paper, Star Advertiser, clear as mud. Okay, coronavirus variants of concern now at 555 cases statewide, says Hawaii Department of Health. Ooh, just if I can, just about a month ago, we brought on some guests, and didn't we talk about variants and what concern? And they're saying, well, we just got to keep an eye out for it because at the time, Brazilian variant wasn't here, right? It was just the California variant, which was the dominant one, right? And there was only like a few on the South African, but hey, okay. So my brother Mel Raposo gave me an idea to go get this article and start reading. Lo and behold, the first paragraph is like boom and punch me in the stomach. The number of coronavirus cases involving variants concerned statewide has grown to 555. So that means that it was at a much lower number. But now it's at 555, including 209 alone detected in the last 14 days. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this information is not from me. This is from the Department of Health via the Star Advertiser. Okay. Of the variants, the largest number is the California variant, which is the B1, 429, and 427. We've talked about that before. And then the one that's the mutation of the L452R is linked to multiple outbreaks in Santa Clara, as well as Los Angeles counties. Okay. Now we get a lot of our travelers from those areas. Right now, we get travelers from those areas.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us go down a little bit more and look. On Maui, we just talked about Maui. The California variant is a predominant strain. Okay. So now let's look at the line that says statewide there are. Okay. So we knew that there's variants on the island, but just look at this. Statewide, there are 454 cases of California variants, mostly the 1429, followed by 86 of the B117, which is the UK, 8 of the 1.351, which is South African. And lo and behold, not too long ago, we had 0 of the P1, which is the Brazilian variant that we was worried about. But guess what? It's here. So now my point is, Hawaii, we are bordered by water. We are not like the continental US where you can drive across state lines and can be brought in undetected. We had methods to stop it, but for some reason, we relaxed those methods by just going with a pre-test, which doesn't look for variants anyway. But yet we're trying to find out if through the pre-testing process, if somebody came out positive, I mean the post-test, post-arrival test, you can take that and you can do your sequencing from there, correct? Now, correct me, anybody out there, if you have a degree in this stuff, because I sure don't. The only degree I get is on the order, and I have one right now, degree. I don't have a degree in this stuff. Okay? So what this tells me is that, bingo, it came in via Trojan horse. Who's the Trojan horse in this equation? A traveler. Whether it's a tourist or local, that's the Trojan horse. And it came right into our state. So guess what? We can't get rid of it now. So Oahu has the most variant cases with 251, followed by Maui with 215, then Hawaii County with 33, and Kauai with 6. Okay. There's another 50 variant cases, including 32 of the UK, listed as unknown counties. Well, I mean, this reporter is really good. They're taking information down from somebody who's giving them the information, They're giving them one basically an unknown source, but it's there. So there's no way of validating. I don't know who validates this stuff.
Well, remember too, Charlie, they're only testing 75
Correct.
cases a week.
Correct.
This is the result of 75 samples a week.
Correct.
75 samples a week now.
Yeah.
So obviously,
25% is the other 25% is the unknown. Right.
75 a week. So it's not that much. And also, David, and I haven't heard this, and I just saw this on the thread. David said there is a new variant from Texas, the BV1I. I don't know if you heard about that one, Charlie. I
The B.
haven't. Um,
No, well,
BV1
yeah,
letter I.
yeah.
And that one is from Texas. So I need to go check that out afterwards.
Well, I don't know. Here, these are numbers just by the county. The top one is from the Oahu, City County of Honolulu. The next one down is Maui County, and there's Hawaii County, and finally there is Kauai County. So right now, Kauai, we're very lucky because we've only got one of the B1, the UK. We have none of the California. We have none of the South African, and we have none of the Brazilian. Okay, so we're very fortunate. But again, we held the line in the beginning until the pressure was put on by the legislature to say, hey, conform. Okay, we conform, but then now everybody went south. So now we just as confused as when we started, right? We're no different. But I wanted to post this up because again, it's that very, very nonchalant attitude when we talked about this before, about the variants. And it was like, you don't have to worry because if it's this or that, by then we got the vaccines coming out, okay. And and it'll take me into my next section because I can see you turning a little red now. So I know your blood pressure is up from the
No,
information.
I'm good, Charlie. I'm good, man. I appreciate the info, and I didn't realize there were that many variants. I knew that there were a lot more. And remember, again, I'm going back to say 75 a week statewide now.
Yeah.
Statewide. So don't assume that because Hawaii only has one or six or whatever it is that we're only testing 75 samples statewide per week.
Okay. So with that given, that's my little presentation there. And bringing it back to the screen. So you see how concerning it is, okay? Because what happened is we went from really pretty much having a limited number of variants. We talked about it. It was dealt with in a very, very, I want to say cavalier way. And I understand he didn't want to pressure anybody or make anyone nervous, but yet it still was a topic of importance because we personally have to learn how to deal with it. Okay. So if it means using our mask, okay, let's deal with it. But if you're saying just because I'm vaccinated, I won't catch these variants, I haven't seen the report yet on the full effectiveness of the studies that were done with Pfizer, Moderna, or J&J with the variants. It hasn't come out yet. That's what everybody's waiting for, I presume, and hopefully we can get that pretty soon. But it brings Mel, it just brings much concern. And like I said, I don't want to get anybody worried because there's nothing to worry about. Yet we have to do our homework. We have to know what we're playing with because, folks, it's here in the state. And this was the very thing that we had cautioned, and we were sometimes, people took pot shots at us, right? Now in the beginning, they took pot shots at us like, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, we'll see when it happens. And guess what? Ta-da! A statement was made by someone. The cases of consequences is so minor, it's small. At the time it was said, and then we don't have nothing to worry about because we have a very effective safe travels program, and it pretty much catches everything.
Yeah.
Well, how did we spring up in the last 2 weeks to 209 cases? Where did it come from? Right? Where did it
Yep.
come from? Did it come in a U.S. Postal Service? Did it come through the mail? Did it come by FedEx? Where did it come from? But you see, nobody's gonna take up the challenge. Bro. Nobody's gonna come on and say, you two smart ass knuckleheads. This is where it came from. Nobody gonna do that because nobody wants to be told they're wrong. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying the evidence now, based on what I'm reading, and if this wasn't true, the advertiser wouldn't have printed this. The advertiser wouldn't have quoted the Department of Health, but they're the ones doing it. So I just said, okay, I'm just reporting what they're reporting.
Well, you hit it on the head, buddy. I mean, I think again, this information that people need to hear. Whether good or bad, I think people need to know what is actually going on. I know for Kauai, a lot of people are asking about tiers. What's going to happen? When do we shut down? I want to post up real quick, Charlie, if you don't mind,
Go right
our
ahead.
tier system. Today, with today's 5, we have 12 active cases right now over what 4 or 5 days. So we're at tier 4, obviously, which is less than 2. We will need 2 to 4 cases at, over a 7-day average. So we are at risk on Kauai of dropping to tier 3 and even possibly tier 2, depending on what our test positivity rate is and what the case counts will be over a 7-day period. So yeah, I just want to say, regardless of what the state does, we still have our tier system. And it'll be interesting if we drop down. If we go to tier 3, there's no more youth sports. There's no more team sports. There's none of that, and it's going to be unfortunate. But as these numbers rise, we got to adjust. We need to adjust. So I'm just telling people, guys, don't get mad if we start dropping tiers because cases going up. We need to isolate these cases and this virus before it gets out of control. We just need to. We talked a little bit about the vaccine hesitancy right now. As we go down the road, and you see the push statewide of getting people to go use up this supply of vaccines that we have, because all of the people that were anxious to get the vaccines have all been vaccinated. And now you have that group of the community that are not interested, or their doctors told them not to take them. That's the group that's standing between us and what they call herd immunity. To reach 90+% vaccinated across the state, and at the same time allowing people to come in, I don't know how we'll ever reach herd immunity. I don't see us reaching herd immunity anytime soon. And these cases will continue to grow, and you're gonna see some consequences, and it'll be with the tiers. I would assume if it continues like it did in October, within a month, Derek's gonna ask to opt out of safe travels again. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him, but I cannot imagine him doing anything differently if the numbers continue to rise as it did back in October. That's something we just gotta wait and see.
Well, some may say, they say, well, Honolulu is doing it. Honolulu is doing it. Well, I say, that's Honolulu. And there is, I don't know, I feel a sense of recklessness, if you want to call it that. But again, that's why, we're not the elected officials. We're not the one making a call on it. But I do want to bring up a point, Mel, and that was happening. If any of you out there happen to watch the 10 o'clock MSNBC interview with Ahmed Muhadin interviewing Dr. Fauci today. It was very interesting what Dr. Fauci said, because a question was posed to him based on what some of Congress, some of his staunchest critics have said about his release of information and predictions. And that is, gee, when we first started this pandemic and when the vaccines was here, to get herd immunity, we had to get between like 70 70, 80%. And now the goalpost is continually moving because today, Dr. Fauci said, we're looking at more like between 90 and 95%. Okay. And so the one who was asking him the question, he says, well, can you explain that? He says, look at it this way. When the 80% rule was first brought up, he said it's because it was from a known source. So he liked it to the measles. When they had the outbreak, we knew that if 80% of the population got vaccinated, or 80%, however you want to call it, for this population or those involved, it the information gathered from that period of time showed that it controlled the spread of that outbreak. With this virus, it's still new, and they don't know what the numbers are that will control it. So having said that, he says we got to be careful because a lot of people are sticking to their guns at 80% because, given with the president's vaccine rollout, right, the aggressive rollout, he says, people are going to think it's 80%. It may not be 80. 80 might not be enough. Now, with the vaccine hesitancy, it creates even more of this unknown variable. And with these variants, it creates even a bigger problem. He says, we just don't know. And that's why, even though you've been vaccinated, you still have to put on your mask and you have to social distance, you have to wash your hands, and you have to avoid large gatherings because they need all the help possible. Because if not, those who don't take the vaccine, from what he says, and who can be subjected to catching it, catching the virus, all they're going to do is take the virus from here and move it to there. So we're going to be in this constant game of chasing it instead of surrounding it and trying to contain it. And that's the way he put it on air this morning. And it was at 10 a.m. this morning. And it was very, very interesting. Very interesting. That concept.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd like to see the lieutenant governor invite Fauci back on his little podcast or Facebook Live, because I think Fauci is a very cautious doctor. He's an expert. I mean,
Mhm.
and everybody, a lot of people rely on his opinion, and he has studied this for a very long time, and I think what he's saying again goes along with what other experts are saying as far as the variants are really going to control how this virus goes forward. And that herd immunity, I remember hearing it not long ago that it was going to be much higher than 90% requirement because of the variants and because of, and again, when you start allowing more travelers to come in, and
Mhm.
remember now, not everyone that's in Hawaii is vaccinated. We still have the Safe Travels program for those that don't get vaccinated. So you still have people that are coming in with a single pre-travel test. We still have a unvaccinated travelers traveling, and again, we know today for sure it's no longer speculation that people with the vaccine that have been completely fully vaccinated are actually contracting the virus. So again, to get to 90%, remember when it started, it was 70%, Charlie. In Hawaii, it was 70%. Then we'll be at herd immunity, and then bang, wide open. Well, now it's 90 plus percent. It's going to even be longer. It ain't going to be, I can promise you, it won't be by July 4th, but that's the target because
Mhm.
tourism, tourism.
Well, what is interesting that I failed to mention. He also mentioned this. He said herd immunity works in two ways. It's the population that's been vaccinated, and it's a population that survived COVID and have built up the antibodies, right? From catching the virus itself. But what is not known is the duration of when the body antibodies are built up, the duration of how long it lasts. There is no figurative science that says, okay, it will last at this much percent at this given time. Because case in point, some people caught the virus, they get it back to back, they catch it back to back. You would figure the bodies build that resistance, right? It's building up your immune system, but they get them right again. They get sick again. So he said, you got to get all of those kind of individuals into the figures too to see how it will actually work. What they're saying is trying to get everyone immune is that do one whole blanket and says, okay, instead of looking at segmented population that those who had gotten the virus before, but they build up an immune system, and those who have never gotten the virus, but they got the vaccine, they do away with that. And right now they look just with one lens and they blanket everyone and try to figure it from that way. And I think that's the way they want it to go. But he says, you have to figure out that those who don't take it, that may have gotten sick before, they may have immunity. But what's the duration of that? We don't know. And we won't know. It's just that we just have to prepare. And, some people say, then, why we take the vaccine? The vaccine is, you don't want to die. I don't want to die. If we catch it, at least the symptoms will be lessened greatly. And the people who've caught this virus, who are now still not even in the recovery mode, they're living every day with it, the damage that it caused. You might want to ask them how they feel. I'm pretty sure they're going to tell you if they had the opportunity way before this happened to get a vaccine, they probably wouldn't want to take it because they don't want to live like this. It's hard. It's tough.
Yeah. So, the worst part about this whole ordeal is you gotta wait. You gotta wait, and unfortunately, you gotta wait and deal with it. And you gotta watch the cases rise. You gotta watch cases. You gotta watch people get sick. You gotta watch people. And what irritates me the most is one of the things is how this is minimized. To achieve that goal of opening up the state, and how our leaders will minimize the impacts of COVID.
Mhm.
How they will not, like you, exactly what you brought up today. I mean, you never heard it. You hear it here on this show, but you'll never hear that in the news. You never read it in the paper. And I'm talking about the cluster report. Yeah, you can go dig it up. How many people actually go to the Department of Health website to go dig up information? And yet, I think that information is actually very important for people to make informed decisions. I think if everyone knew or were reminded that this is still a deadly virus, but when you listen to the leaders, nah, man, you get vaccinated, you don't get sick, you don't get this, you don't that, blah blah blah. But in essence, you can still pass it to someone that you love.
Mhm.
So it's no, that's the frustration, is waiting and waiting and waiting. I don't know how many people, and I stopped doing this for a while, but now I find myself again waiting for that daily report from the county of Kauai. I don't pay attention to the state's one, but the Kauai's one, I wait every day now, and I wasn't doing that. Whenever I see that thing come in the mail, in the email, I get anxiety before I click it because I know we're going to see cases. And today, when I saw 5 new cases, when I saw that yesterday, the death on Kauai, how can people sit back and not take that into account and maybe look at this with a little bit more emphasis on safety? It just drives me nuts. Drives me nuts because, like I said, Charlie, you lived it. You was there. You lost a loved one.
Mhm.
Most of us haven't. I mean, we know of people. We have friends. I've had a friend that passed away, but not everyone has that, and not everyone has actually suffered the direct impact of this virus.
Mhm.
And I think it gets minimized. I think it gets overly minimized, and that's why it's why you tell people that you can kind of relax because we're vaccinated and we're approaching herd immunity. And then on the other side of your mouth, you're scolding people because they're letting their guard down. Well, you're encouraging them to let their guard down. You're
Right.
minimizing the impacts of this virus, causing people to let their guard down.
Right. I would like to say, and this is, I'm not trying to, this is not discriminatory when I say this, but local people, whether they be transplant who's been living here for quite a while, or many of us who have been born and raised here, we are very, very mindful that the ocean is our playground, but it can also be our death if we're not careful. Because we were trained from very early age. My dad always said, never turn your back on the waves. And you love Opihi so much, but if the wave action is high, there's always another day. You don't have to go down to the shore and go try to pick Opihi, because then you're gonna be contending with how you're gonna save your life. And I get very baffled. They say one key thing is when water recedes, that's not a good sign. You should head for the hills, right? And yet you see on YouTube many of these places in Southeast Asia, India, the water recedes, the people so lucky to go down there, grab the fish. But the first thing they do is not being mindful that the water is receding for, it's not because in the middle of the ocean, when big squid will go put a plug out from the bottom of the ocean and water sucking down to the water ending up on the other side of the world. No, it's not that. The water is receding for a reason. And so, I get frustrated when we hear our visitors come, they visit, they go hiking, they go like to 7 sacred pools on the island of Maui. If you go an overcast day and you see raining on the top already, you know that the water gonna come down someplace, right? But these visitors still decide, even though they get warned at the airport, you know, the waters may look calm. There's always that undertone, there's always that rip, and it happens in rivers too. Be careful. They want to go cross the river, just like Hanakapiai, right? These are all places that if you're not from here, and even locals, myself, I know just because I'm a transplant from Honolulu, I just don't go milly all around because I know I can get in trouble too. And you got to use common sense. And that's what this whole thing is about when it comes to fighting this virus, is that some of the people out there, they're so fixated on this is my rights. This is my rights. You know what? When you say that, look in the fine prints that your rights also get the word common sense, because a lot of you lacking that right now. When you lack the common sense, no matter how much rights you got, if your common sense no kick in and you're in danger and on the verge of dying, then you're gonna know what I'm talking about. And that's the frustrating part of it all. He's trying to say, hey, why not take these tips from the local people? When the waves are up, you're gonna be here for a while. You can always go look at the water the next day. You don't have to go that very day when the waves are 2 times higher than you. And guess what? The water actually left the ocean and jumped onto the road. Don't you think that's kind of powerful and you should be careful of? Those kind of, it still baffles me why people don't think about that kind of stuff. And that's how I look at it when it comes to this virus. If you got 564 deaths, 64,000 deaths attributed to COVID, what makes you think COVID cannot kill? Curious. I'm curious. Those are recorded, documented numbers.
Yeah. I don't know how you just. I think General Hara the other night said it
Mhm.
best. Dumbasses,
Right.
dumbasses. That's kind of the easiest way to put it. Real quick. I know we're running out of time. I'll tell you a real quick story. I was in training in Texas back in early '80s in the Air Force, and we had a weekend off. So the guys wanted to go camp at this area that had a lake, and so I said, "Shoot, we load up the car."
Mhm.
We drive down there. We get there, and one of those guys was from that area, Oklahoma with Texas. We was kind of close to the Oklahoma border, and he said, "Hey, rap," because they knew I was from Hawaii. He said, "Hey, if you come across a rattlesnake, this is what you got to do." And I said, "A what?" "A rattlesnake." I said, "Over here, get rattlesnakes?" "Yeah." That was the end of my camping trip, Charlie. It was done. I'm not going to take a chance. I'm not familiar with rattlesnakes. I don't want to get bite by a rattlesnake. I just not going to do it. And yet these people come here, same thing, same scenario. except it's not a rattlesnake. It's the waves, the water, the current, the weather, the floods, the waterfalls, whatever. But it's
Mhm.
so beautiful. See, a rattlesnake is kind of creepy, so it's easier to accept. But when you have this beautiful place, and these dumbasses go out there and they tempt and test Mother Nature, and they end up getting hurt. And you're right, Charlie. 500 plus, over 500,000 people already died from this virus, and you still got people that are convinced
Tempting.
that this is not a dangerous virus,
Mhm.
that it's just the flu.
Right.
Well, if you believe that, you're totally ignorant, and that mean to offend no one. I don't say ignorant in a bad sense. It's just ignorant. You're ignorant to the facts of this virus, and you gotta be akamai about this thing. Yeah, cannot be nice anymore. You're right, really. I'm just over it because today again I just saw way too many people without masks. I don't know. Now I'm starting to look more, I guess, but like I said, you can yell at them, flip them the bird, do what you like. They're not going to change their behavior. Just stay away from them. Protect your families. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and we'll get through this.
Well, I did want to say for those of you out there that I saw some of your posts. If you folks see people not wearing their mask in stores, it's incumbent upon the store for them to make an approach because there is provisions that public areas like stores, you must wear a mask indoors. Okay. And you just go and tell the manager, says, hey, you you got people in your store not wearing a mask. If the store manager doesn't want to do anything, call for emergency management. Let the KPD or your local, whether it's the Big Island Police or whatever, you let them will give a warning to the store. Says, hey, because remember the one store that had a warning on all that, I mean the restaurant. I know it was for other reasons, but there's people go out there that they enforce. And I did want to say too, you remember we talked about the last time when I talked about the big foot and maybe the prosthetic foot. Mrs. Eon is on the side of me saying, oh God, please don't. Well, anyway, I just wanted to say you're right. Rattlers, they do have prosthetic rattlers. Just gotta be careful because you might have what looks like a snake and with a rattle like that. So I just wanted to let the people know you gotta be safe. You cannot take nothing for granted.
I just not gonna take that chance, bro.
There
I
you go, my brother.
ain't
Good,
gonna take that chance.
good, good.
I'm not gonna take that chance. I'm gonna try and get. I'll email George Ma tonight. See if he can join us next week. I think we can all use an update from George. I mean, and we've got so many others that are recovering from this thing, that are struggling, and
You
yeah,
know who I want to bring on? Let's bring on Lee Altenberg because
yeah,
he did a fantastic job with the numbers and his models that he did. And I saw a couple of them today with regards to the variants. I think that would be something good to talk about. So the viewers, I know I touched a little bit on it, and like I said, I'm no expert, but he kind of put it in perspective for me. So that's why I was able to kind of understand, what I was reading, especially on today's the news. But he would be a real good guest for those to kind of get a visual. Let him do a visual. We share the screen with him and let him just post it up there. I think it'll work out real well. I'd love to have him on.
yeah. We'll try to get them next week. I think we just wanna really focus on this and raise the awareness now, because now is when we can go south real quick. And I hate to think that that's where we're headed, but we just all we can do is inform and educate, which is what we've always tried to do. I will ask you. I'll end with this, Charlie. I'm not trying to be funny, but this is just really what it is. If I walked into a store today butt naked, if I walked into Big Save or Safeway butt naked,
Mhm.
and I just walked in and the manager called the cops would come, I would get arrested because there's a law in the books that I cannot be naked in public. Same scenario, someone walks into that same store and there's someone without a mask. There is a law on the books that said you must wear a mask.
Right.
but that person doesn't get arrested. No one gets arrested. And until that changes, until we start arresting these people,
Mhm.
then things not going to change. And that's my closing thought.
Well, my closing thought is this. Thank you very much to all the viewers today. We had a good viewership. I hope you folks learned a little. I sure, in delivering these kind of messages and information, it also helps me realize that yeah, we're not out of the woods yet. We're in a comfortable position. I gotta admit that, but we still have to be responsible. That if we're comfortable, so we can make others around us comfortable, and we try lead by example. And that is, if we use masks, I mean, I tell them, yeah, I've been vaccinated, but I'm gonna leave my mask on. Is that okay with you? And even if they don't want to use their mask, what I do, if they want to hold a conversation, I know the person. They say, "Oh yeah, uncle, I've been vaccinated too." I take another 5 feet step backwards if they're not going to use a mask. Just I said because, like I said, the scenario I gave you with walking along the ocean when the water recedes, you don't want to tempt fate. When the sign is clear, when the all clear is given, okay, it's just like every month you hear that the warning, the siren warning, right? If it should come on any day other than the first business day of the month, folks, you take that warning seriously, okay? And what we're saying to you right now is we're being serious, but we're trying to be light because I know everyone is tired already of COVID, 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 COVID. But certain things are happening and the dynamics is always shifting. And we just gotta keep an eye on it. That's all. That's all. Have a good night.
Thanks, Charlie. Thank you very much. Thank you for that information tonight. That was awesome. I think, again, just facts, data. I just want to say thank you all viewers. I read the comments and there's so many nice comments about thanking us and mahaloing us. And I just, and I don't want to start responding to anyone because I go miss another. So I just want to say on behalf of Charlie and myself, thank you guys for all those kind words. And, we do this because we enjoy informing and educating. We love you guys. You guys are our Ohana. So I just want to say thank you for all the kind words. That doesn't only happen during the live show. We get it during the day. We get it in post. We get it in messages. So thank you, thank you, thank you all for allowing us to do this. When we every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Stay tuned next week, Monday. Again, we'll try to get George or Lee Altenberg, and we'll promise you guys a very good week next week. Stay safe. God bless you guys. Wear your mask, wash your hands, social distance, and don't go to the big gatherings. All right, guys. We love you guys. Stay
Okay.
safe. Have a super duper weekend. Aloha.